Alright, hello ladies and gentlemen. I am having to reshoot this video because some asshole came up and ganked me when I was trying to record in this one area showcasing some abilities. And what for? The Power Tech Bounty Hunter. The Power Tech is the tank subclass for the Bounty Hunter. So, let's go over here to our trusty operations training dummy. Now, this Power Tech tank is different than the Sith Warrior tank and other single targeting tanks. It is very much built for AoE or crowd control, and that makes it a really ideal off tank. And by off tank I mean, you know, normally in a raid the main tank is tanking the boss, and the off tank does the really important and undercredited job of mopping up all the adds and other creatures that are still really deadly, that are trying to take out the team whilst they're trying to take out the boss. And that's your job, is to take them out. But this class still performs really well, single target as well if you know the rotation decently enough, but ultimately yes, it is weaker in that respect, or less versatile I should say. So as always, let's go through our abilities. They are in order of rotation as always. So first things first, apply buffs. Needed to do that. Okay, so we have Jet Charge, very similar to Force Charge of the Sith Warriors. Close the distance, you use your jetpack, get in there and give them a smack in the face. Rocket Punch, really important. It's going to end up going into a tangent, but we've got to do it. Rocket Punch, not only does it deal a little bit of damage, but it enables your shields, which is a really integral mechanic of a bounty hunter, or at least a Power Tech. Shields. Now I should have probably done this on the Sith Warrior in terms of showing stats. As you can see here, the armor that I have here looks a little bit different than this. Don't worry, you're not going crazy. It's because that's the armor that I have actually slotted in versus the outfit that I have. Okay, so anyways, regardless. So let's go to defense here. Now, his stats are a little bit lower than what they could possibly be in terms of God mode or whatever. And that's because I just got him in 208 gear, which is, you know, you can still use it to start in operations. Definitely probably couldn't survive in Nightmare. But anyways, 208, 216, 220, right? So almost getting him properly geared out, but still, anyways, still pretty decent stats, okay? So shield chance, it'll describe it here for you better than I ever could. So it's a chance that incoming attack essentially will be reduced, right, by your shield. Then the shield absorption percentage, that is the actual percentage that the damage, the amount of damage that is prevented when that attack is absorbed by your shield in the first place. So you see how it's kind of like a double filter net system here. So first, it's the chance that you're going to shield it in the first place. Second, the amount that you're going to absorb of that damage. Okay, kind of get that? Alright. So, the Power Tech's abilities boost its shielding capacity, which allows it to soak up a lot of goddamn damage. Because generally speaking, in terms of like health or endurance, right, has a little bit lower than, let's say, a Sith Warrior. In certain circumstances, obviously gear changes things and whatnot. Okay, so before we go into the rest of the rotation, let's look at the skill tree, because this will help shed light on the rest of the rotation later. So, again, 3-2-2, right? So, we want to increase our movement speed by 15%, because moving really fast, or faster, as a tank is really important, especially for this one, because you are going to be dealing with multiple targets, trying to ring them in, mop them up, get them after you. Definitely need that, because usually a tank will be really slow, right? Especially when you have some slowing effects put on you. Okay, then we have Bracer Propellant. It increases the range of Flame Burst, Magnetic Blast, and Flame Sweep. Obviously you'll know what these mean in just a second, but Flame Sweep is similar to Saber Sweep. It is it's an AoE that you have really good at close range. Flame Burst, single target. magnetic blast. I don't even think that the power tech uses that. I think that's another subclass of bounty hunter. Anyways, engulfing flames, increasing the damage by flame sweep by 25%, similar to the skill that we have for the Sith warrior for sweeping strikes, or saber sweep, or whatever you want to call it, or whatever it is called. Increasing damage of the few damaging abilities that you have is really important as a tank, right? Because normally you don't do a lot of damage. It's not your job. So, Pyro Shield. This allows for your shields to give off a little bit of damage to people who are attacking you. You know? That helps, for sure. Sonic Rebounder, that has to do with Sonic Missile. Sonic Missile, over here, it is your group taunt. Okay? You shoot that, taunts everything in the area. And then with this skill, it also puts a buff on friendly targets. So people in your raid group get a little bit of a buff, helps them. It's helpful. Okay? Shield Cannon, oh my god, can I tell you how important this is? So, damaging a target with your shoulder cannon missiles heals you for 5% of your total health. You will see in a second what the shoulder cannon is. It does a little bit of damage, not so much. You load, it looks like the Predator missile thing, and you load 4 missiles over time, and you want to shoot them off intermittently throughout your rotation to give you that 5% of your total health, not just 5%, I mean total health, right? So it helps in terms of healing yourself. And then fuel additives, again, dealing more damage, being able to reduce some of that damage that's coming at you as well. Really important as a tank. Take it. Okay, so, right, Jet Charge, Rocket Punch, Rail Shot. You know, I've seen a lot of people screw this up and had Rail Shot like way down in their rotation and not even understand possibly or recognize that Rail Shot can only really be activated by doing Rocket Punch in the first place. So that's why those two need to go together. Also, like, they build some of the highest amount of heat in your rotation, and that's another thing about this rotation and its build, is that it's built for not only being really fluid, getting as much damage out there as possible, but also for managing heat levels, because heat for a power tech bounty hunter is inverse of what rage is for the Sith warrior, right? You want to make sure that your rage as a Sith warrior is at the max level at all times, right? So you can keep doing your abilities. Heat is the other. You want your heat to be as low as possible so that you don't overheat, right? And that way you can continue to do your abilities, because if you overheat, then, well, you can't use any of your abilities. So it's kind of inverse, you know? So, anyway, so Rail Shot, then, okay, Flame Sweep if you have multiple enemies, okay? It's a little AoE, as you can see there. Really good when there's tons of stuff around you in your immediate area. I'll show you the shoulder cannon, I'll load those up. Neat, Predator. So those will load, and always make sure that you have enough time before a fight to do that. Okay, anyways, back to Flame Sweep. Flame Burst, that's for single targeting. You want to definitely be doing that. You're going to be using that a lot in your rotation. It'll be like bread on a bread sandwich in terms of staple. Alright, and then eventually Firestorm will be activated by you doing, you know, any sequence of these abilities. It'll be, and what do I mean by activated? You can activate it right fucking now if you want, right? But what do I mean by activated? I mean that it won't have that cooldown after, because it will become free to use. So you just pop it, you're good to go. Alright, Death from Above, really cool ability, but only use it to start or finish off a fight. Never in the middle, never right below you, because, I mean, it looks cool as hell. You're shooting rockets from your wrists like a badass, but, I mean, it has a really long cooldown, and, you know, yeah. Okay, rapid shots, you're going to be using that in coercion with Heat Blast to manage your heat and cool down your levels, because this keeps the damage flowing, and it has like high DPS rate, and it's instant, no cooldowns, but also it doesn't generate any heat. So pretty important. And this heat blast, it helps vent some of your heat and also boost your shield absorption, which is really good. And then, okay, what here? Explosive dart, missile blast. Only use that to start a fight or to finish off a single target or a weak target. Explosive dart, it explodes over time. So never do missile blast first. Do the explosive dart, and by the time you fire off the missile blast and it reaches there, they will explode at the same time, doing a lot more damage that way. Then electro dart is your stun. You know, pretty simple. Stuns them, electrocutes them. Okay, you know what the shoulder cannon is. I'll show you how that works. Determination is your purge. This is your healing ability when you're static. Carbonize, really important, as you'll start to see the nuances here in terms of what I was talking about in terms of crowd control. You can encase up to eight enemies into carbonite. So this is like essentially like an AoE stun for a couple seconds. Really important in terms of handling the fucking situation. Oil slick, really good for getting the hell out of dodge. It slows enemies by 70%. I use this all the time, even when I was leveling. If I was just in an area and everything respawned behind me and I was just like, fuck this, just run through everything, you know, maybe carbonize some things and whatever's left, throw the oil down underneath you, and then you know, they get caught in it and they can't catch up to you and they reset, you know. Really good. Thermal sensor override, really good. Next ability generates no heat, really good. Furthermore, vent heat, vents 50 heat over 3 seconds. You definitely use this when you're at max heat, and number 9 is on cooldown, and because you're not, it's not good to just be hitting number 8 for, you know, 30 seconds. That's for sure. So use that, especially when you need to push really hard on a boss. Definitely want to use that. Culto Overload, similar to Enraged Defense for the Sith Warrior. Use it when you're half health, slightly below half health. It helps rejuvenate your health a little bit over time. Well, not a little bit, quite a bit, significantly over time. So it's the oh shit button, essentially. Hydraulic overrides gives you a 30% increase to your speed, which is already increased by 15% with that skill ability. And you want to be using that because it also grants 6 seconds of immunity from movement impairing effects, knockdowns, and physics, which is great because let's say you're facing a lot of enemies that have knockback, stunning abilities, yada yada. You pop that, you're immune to all of that, and it gives you a chance to dish out as much damage as you possibly can to either finish them all off if they're at generally half health in a fight, or if you want to start the fight off with a real bang, really get digging into them fast, and maybe you can finish them off in one go, kind of thing. Alright, then we have Quell. That's our interrupt. Definitely going to be using that. Energy shield, obviously, as it says, it's a shield. You pop it, it absorbs some more damage for you. Really useful. Alright, explosive fuel, that increases the damage, the critical hit chance for your ranged and tech attacks, which is good in terms of just dealing potentially some more critical damage. Now, I waited a little bit too long, around with a little too long, so my shoulder cannon reset. So no worries about that in terms of showing that in the rotation. We'll show it in real life. What else do we have? We have a stealth scan, pretty important, I guess, in PvP matches more than anything else. You send out a little droid and they detect stealthers. Pretty cool. All tanks, and I should have mentioned this in my Sith Warrior video, have a guard ability, and you use that in a raid to guard the DPS or the person who does the most damage, because to reduce the amount of threat that they generate. That way you can be generating all the threat that you need to as a tank. And then, but you know, as you see here, you'll be taking 50% of the damage that's going to you, that's going to them will go to you, right? That is a negative, but if you're doing, or if you have all the threat, then that person won't be taking a lot of damage, or shouldn't be taking a lot of damage. That way, it kind of like, if you know what you're doing, it's not an issue kind of deal. Especially if your DPS knows how to throttle correctly. Okay. Other abilities. Okay, Translocate, that's a new ability, similar to Sith Juggernaut's Intercede, except different. So instead of just jumping to a location, you actually swap places with your group member. Really important if a healer or anybody's in trouble from a boss or some sort of mechanic or whatever, and you can just swap right there and essentially fix or save somebody, which is really good. You have your AoE taunt, you have your normal taunt, and then you also have a grappling hook, which is essentially a third taunt on weaker enemies. On a boss or a champion level character, it doesn't pull them to you, unfortunately, but with other characters it actually pulls them to you, which is pretty cool and useful. Okay, shoulder cannons are up again. We'll recharge these and then go through the rotation on the dummy once, and then we'll go out into the real world, into a scenario, and use all we've learned in a pretty tough situation, one that I've only been able to do on this character, and he's not even like fully geared, like to the max, to the 9s, you know? A situation that I can't even do with a Rusticus, just because how the class plays a little bit different. Alright, so here we go. Let's say this is a single target. Normally, just jump in with the jetpack, but we're going to show you that explosive dart followed up by missile blast. Alright, now jetpack. 3. So we're going to go 5 because it's a single target. See how 6 is free? We're going to use that. And you see it takes a while to channel it, so it actually reduces your heat. Then you want to go 9 and 8. That's normally the rotation that you do. See, like the heat is at absolutely 0, which is very rare. See, it's still on cooldown. Okay. 9, 8, and then 5. Now we're going to really start spamming 5 because rail shots on a bit of a cooldown. Okay, we're going for 6 because it's free. Now we go 2. Now we go 3. Always go 2 when 3 is ready to be used, because you can use 2 usually quite a bit before 3 is up, but you want to use them in tandem. Okay, now fire off your missiles from your shoulder cannon. 2, 3, 5, 5. I'm just going to build heat on purpose here to show you the cooling down effect. 6, see, it's going to help give us some time to cool off. 8, see, and for some reason this isn't triggered, right? So, okay, we'll hit 9, 8, 8. Okay, I'm going to go with vent heat. Really help vent it. Rail shot. 2, 6. Help bring it down again. 9, 8. See, it was totally down. Shoulder cannons. And that's essentially, that's your rotation. And you're going to be throwing in maybe some interrupts throughout that electro dart. Stun them. Carbonize. Stun them as well. You know, if they're doing abilities, you know, interrupt them. Meanwhile, you know, moving throughout the battlefield. Very rare that you're going to have a one-on-one situation outside of PvE as this class. So let's go ahead into the real world, into a scenario. Hopefully, well, if I get jumped again, then I get jumped, and you know what, I tried. I tried to showcase it. No, if that happens again, then we'll just go somewhere else that I know will work, and it will be in an instance where, you know, nobody else can get in there and all that jazz. So we're going to be going to that bridge over there, and it's going to be full of a mix of ranged and melee characters. 3 champions, 2 captains, and 4 you know, lower level kind of mob characters. And the champions are pretty tough because they have this really big knockback attack that if I'm not careful on that bridge, I will fall off and die. Uh-oh. Please don't gank me. Please don't do that. Alright, so the first order of business is just getting rid of these 4 Nancy Pantses in the first place. And we've got our little companion, our Jawa Blizz over here, and we put him into healing stance, but he's really not going to be a factor in this fight because of how many people there are. He might even die, for crying out loud. So, load up the shoulder cannons. First order of business, absolutely. So this is our group that we're going to be taking on in here. These are the guys we got to watch out for. They got a serious knockback, so always be observant of your surroundings. There's some pillars here. Put your back next to it. That way if they knock you back, you're knocking you back right into a pillar, or go to the back of the stone wall there. Or, better yet, use carb and freeze on them, and make sure to time your interrupts. Be switching. Always look for visual cues if there are any. So, yeah. Alright, so we're going to start this off with a death from above on those weaker units in the center there. Probably going to end up getting thrown about a bit. Okay. See, make sure that my back is facing the right direction. Make sure. Oh, they're going to hit me again. I know I'm going to get knocked around a lot in this fight, but that's okay. I'm ready for that. Okay, using my missiles intermittently. Right, knock back again. Gotta use my shield and Culto. Carbonite. Freeze them. Going for the weakers. Use your missile. Heal yourself. Okay, they're back. Make sure your back's against the wall. Okay, flame sweep. Coming again. Alright. Now they're really hitting hard, so I'm going to use this hydraulic override so that they can stop smacking me up like a goon. Stun this guy. Slow the rest of them. Get in there, really put in that AoE. Blizz is doing a good job of off-healing me. Okay. Oh, I almost cancelled that one. I just didn't recognize it fast enough. Oh, hear that one coming. Alright, interrupt that one. That was good. Number 5. Sorry I haven't commented on the progression of things, but obviously it's been a little intense. So there you go. That's how you can take a group of seriously tough enemies, and they're at levels, 62. Okay, like this is, not the newest content, but what was before the new content here on Yavin 4. Don't want to spoil too much for those who might not have played the game. So anyways, yeah, I haven't been able to do that even with a Rusticus and other classes. So, and I mean, this guy is not even fully geared out just yet. And I mean, yes, if you know the mechanics of the game, if you have been playing for a while, if you have your character geared, and especially with these companions, it won't be an issue for you either. And I'm not trying to come off like that was something heroic and spectacular and you'll never see that again. No, absolutely not. Like, there is a lot more things for me to learn and get better at, and really where you test all of your skills, awareness, everything is in the raids and operations and flashpoints and things like that. Essentially these type of enemies and characters are easy, but they're also not at the same time, if that can possibly make any sense at all. So yep, that's the Power Tech Bounty Hunter for you. Rotation and tips and tricks and real life situation right there. So yeah, stay tuned for next video.